What's up, YouTube? Scotty Tradition, back with a national recap video. Just got back into town about 4 o'clock. Let me turn that down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, just got back around 4 o'clock this evening, so I stayed all 5 days at the National. And man, it was a whirlwind. I believe it just came out. I follow the NSCC on Facebook, and they said that this was the most attended National in 43 years of the event's history. So, and man, if you were there Wednesday through Friday, you totally felt that for sure. It was hot, it was crowded, and it was just a ton of people. So, in case anybody was wondering, the hobby is not dead. No, it's not. So, I'm going to try the painstaking job of trying to go through all 5 days of the National from my memory, which is probably going to be a problem because I met so many people over that time period. So just bear with me as I try my best to kind of go through the days. So we'll start out with Wednesday. Drove down from my place with Joey Burkcat 8. He was my roommate for the National. We stayed at the Crown Plaza, just across from the Donald Stevens Convention Center. So great place to stay. We stayed there in 21 as well. And it's just a walk across to the National. So absolutely love that. That was great. No issues driving down. And then basically got in line right away to try to get my early access pass, and probably stood in line for what seemed like almost an hour, at least 45 minutes, and it was hot. It was sweaty on Wednesday evening. And what's funny is I actually got in 1 minute early before the general public. That's how long I was in line for my early access VIP pass. So I swear, I think they were giving the VIP passes out like candy. There was just so many of them given out. The lines were super long. I don't know if they even put a limit on them. I thought there were probably more VIPs there than actual general admissions tickets. So that's the way it seemed anyways. But finally got my pass, got into the show, and started to walk around. Ran into just tons of people on Friday. On Wednesday. I don't remember exactly who I ran into on Wednesday. But what I do remember is I ran into Mike O an awful lot at the show. I must have ran into him like 8 times on Wednesday and Thursday. He was everywhere. Mike O is everywhere. So that was cool. Of course, met up with lots of people. I made no purchases on Wednesday for the 4 hours, so just kind of got the layout of the show. The floor was absolutely huge. It was probably 50% larger than of the last Chicago Nationals. Just so much room in there. And even with all that room in there, it was still packed Wednesday through Friday for sure. Like you could barely move, especially in that newer section, that newer area where the escalators came down, where the general public general tickets came in. So it was just crazy. But the coolest part about Wednesday was going out to eat to Giordano's with my roommate Joey Burkcat 8 and Josh Reynolds. Old school YouTuber Spartan was his YouTube name. I don't think he's made videos in a while, but went out with him and his son as well as Joey to Giordano's. It was my first time eating deep dish pizza. It was amazing, absolutely delicious. So glad that we were able to do that together. And you eat about 2 pieces of deep dish and you're kind of good to go on pizza for a while. At least that's the way I felt. But man, it was delicious and it was worth the wait. I remember it was almost impossible trying to Uber out of there at 8 p.m. We were waiting forever for an Uber, and finally our Uber came. It just was that hectic and busy on Wednesday at the Donald Stevens Convention Center. Just absolutely crazy. Also on Wednesday, basically, I remember hanging out a lot at the 90s auction card booth. It was a booth right kind of behind that black curtain area that separated the areas. The booth is run by a friend of mine, Josh Adams, 90s Auctions. So maybe you saw that booth as you walk by. And a couple of the vintage football guys like to hang out there, like Mike Blaisdell, Brian Wiesner, Bob Swick, who's the editor of Gridiron Greats magazine, and then Dr. Frank Imanov. So great popping in there. You get to go back behind there. They're so welcoming. You can just grab a seat, have a few beers. They brought a cooler in there, so you could just take a pit stop, have a beer or two. I think I replenished beers in that cooler throughout the week. But it was great just to have a place on the floor you could actually just go and sit and chill and just hang out. So super generous of them, and it was great seeing all of them again. So that's basically my Wednesday. memories of the show. I know I ran into more YouTubers on Wednesday, but I just don't remember the exact interactions because the week was so crazy. Maybe I'll mention you as we go. So then Thursday came along, extremely busy, extremely hot on Thursday. Uh, just very busy at the show. It was absolutely crazy in there. Again, I hadn't made a pickup yet. I did run into Marcus Coleman. I don't remember if that was Thursday or Friday, but my buddy Marcus, who I met at the 2019 National, actually at one of baseball collectors' YouTube get-togethers. So we remained friends and wanted to chat with him for a bit. So that was great to catch up with him. At some point, I ran into those back pages and saw his amazing card that he got, and the amazing trade he made to get those cards, or to get the card, his dream card. So I'm not going to spoil that card, but it was just great to hold that in person. And man, what a dream card for anybody. And just was glad that I could be a part of it in some small way. And I thank Eric for sharing that with me. That was just absolutely just stunning. And then let's see, Thursday, walked around a little bit with Foo 3112. Basically, we had a couple beers and walked around for a while, maybe an hour or more, and just kind of cruised the cases looking for one of my goals was to find a Johnny Bench PSA 6 rookie card, or 7, nicely centered. Did find a couple copies at the end of the day, but didn't pull the trigger on any of them. I just felt that it was just it's a fairly common card. It's a card that I'd like to pick up at an auction as opposed to buying it at the National. That way I can pick and choose a little more and kind of buy it on my own time. So that's what ended up happening with that card. But yeah, I got to walk around with Mark Fu 3112 and catch up with him. Met him at the 2019 National. That was his first National as well, and remained friends since then. So always great talking with Mark. He's always got a lot to say, and man, it just happens to be that I enjoy all of the things he talks about. So just really enjoy talking with him about any number of topics, life, family, just world outlook, anything. And there's sometimes very little that has to do with sports cards. That's what's great. You get to meet these people and hang out with them on another level. So always love that. So thanks, Mark, for walking around with me. That was fun. And Thursday was the first pickup, so we'll go and show those here quick. This was Mark brought me to a booth. It was a friend of his called Card Country. I believe the guy's name is Jeff, who runs that booth. And he had picked up his DiMaggio that he had at the 2019 National from this gentleman. So, of course, I had a beer in me at this point and maybe loosening up the wallet a little bit. So, looked through a few cards, and these are two cards that from a set that I really love and appreciate that I've had in the back of my head for a while. Again, I didn't go into the National trying to find these particular cards, but I did pull the trigger. And here's the first one. It's a 1954 Topps Jackie Robinson in the grade of a 4. For a 4, this is a really nice example. There's the front. There's the back. So I was really happy to get that one. I think I paid a little bit of a premium because it was such a beautiful looking 4. But, if anybody knows me and the way I collect, I'm happy to do that for the right cards. And I was actually able to bundle it with another card. This 54 Topps Ted Williams. Card number 250, last card in the set. I did have the orange card, number 1 in the set already. So just look at the color on that Ted Williams. Just pops. They look so good together. So I picked those up from the same seller, Jeff from Card Country, and broke the seal on my 2023 national pickup. So I'm happy about that. Also walked around with a few other people that day. I know I walked around with Ed Wesker Griff for a while. I think that was on Thursday. It was either Thursday or Friday, but we're going to go with Thursday. And, just got to hang out, shoot the shit with him, and just thoroughly enjoy talking with Ed. He's just such a great guy. He actually gave me a couple cards. It's a black refractor of Nyjer Morgan, Brewers legend. These are numbered out of 100. And let's see here. This is from 2012 Topps Chrome. So black refractor of Nyjer Morgan. Passed me that, as well as a custom card of his own, and then a Kings of the Homer, Jose Bautista Matt Kemp and Ryan Braun as well. So from Triple Threads. So thank you, Ed, for thinking of me. That was super generous and not necessary, but I certainly appreciate it. And more than that, just appreciate walking around with you because, um, you know, so what's great about hanging out with these YouTubers is just sometimes we end up talking about stuff that literally has nothing to do with YouTube and cards, and that's great. So definitely had fun walking around with Ed. Um, let's see here. And then another gentleman I got to meet up with, not on YouTube, but his name's Troy Gillett, part of the Lambeau Leap Collectibles group, the Packer group on Facebook, as well as the vintage football community. We've worked on the same Packer set registry for so many years. He was pretty influential in kind of explaining the set with me. We've shared cards over the years. Just such a generous guy with his time and in person, and it was great finally getting to hang out with him a little bit. I did meet him once before briefly, but never got to spend time with him like I did at the National here, especially that Thursday. Also got to hang out with him after the National at the Vintage Football Card Collector Dinner, which was on Thursday. This was at Moretti's. And guess what? It was pizza on the menu again. And I went with a thin crust this time because I was deep dished out already by Thursday. But a great place. The food was delicious and got to hang out with so many great people. That dinner was put on by Jeffrey Payne and the Collector's Connection, which is kind of a vintage football auction site. So they kind of put on the dinner, but it's great just to get together with so many great vintage football collectors. It's kind of a niche community, so very fun to get to know everybody a little bit better. So yeah, that was Thursday. And then, of course, the YouTube get-together. I had to quick hustle back from Moretti's to get to the Thursday night get-together put on by Mike Baseball Collector. And so much fun. Got to meet a couple people for the first time. Quickly in passing, I think I met Chuck Northside guy. He breezed by. He was supposed to talk to me about some Packer programs, but that never happened. So I'm not sure if he had to go or, what. It's just so busy. It's a whirlwind. I completely understand. It's just that you don't get to talk with anybody as much as you want to. Met John Mangini for the first time as well. Also met Orlando from A Collector's Dream for the first time. Although it was brief, I would really like to have talked to Orlando more, but just didn't happen. James Elite Hunters was also there, and I wish I could have talked to him more, but of course didn't. But I did get to talk to him at the end to see his sweet Stan Musial pickup, which was amazing. But basically at that get together, hung out with Mark Wallace. If you don't know who Mark Wallace is, he's the guy with the briefcase with the hard case of T206s. That's Mark Wallace. So it's become kind of a yearly thing where we get to kind of sit down and connect, and at least every other year, every Chicago National anyways, and just amazing to see his collection of T206s. He's such a advanced collector with that, looking for certain grades and just certain upgrades, and his collection is stunning. Just always great to see it. Love looking at stuff with him. And I think Andy hung out with him there as well quite a bit, as well as Max from Max Jackson and Drew. Now, and those guys are so T206 savvy. I just like to be a fly on a wall and just sit back and learn stuff through osmosis from them, because they have such a great wealth and breadth of knowledge and that kind of stuff. So, super happy to talk to them. Talked with Mark Fu 3112. He was there as well. Just kind of, I don't think I left like the spot that I was sitting for like most of that get together. So, again, I apologize if I didn't get to talk to you as much as I wanted to. It's not my intent. Just there's so many people, so little time, but so much fun. So let's get into Friday now. That was only 2 days, and I went through all that stuff already. Friday, more the same. Extremely busy. Slightly less hot, I thought, in the convention, but very extremely busy again. Did end up picking up one card on Friday, and it was this guy. The 61 Lake to Lake Rain Nitschke. This is from the Lake to Lake set. It's a short print. Very tough to find. Very limited out there. The total grades for SGC is like 7 of these have been graded. This is Pop 2, none higher as far as SGC is concerned. PSA has graded a fair amount more. just from the set registry, I think. So I think they've graded like 40 or something like that, but only like, I think there's only like a dozen eights or so, like, and maybe one nine. No tens ever graded. So this is a really decent example for the card. So I was really happy to get that. I have a Bart Starr that looks just like it. That's also top pop for SGC. So it was fun to grab another one to kind of go hand in hand. It's a card I was actually looking for at the National, and was really excited to be able to grab it. And ironically, the guy that I purchased the card from lives like 2 miles away from where I work. So go figure. It's just kind of funny how it works out sometimes. And he really did give me a great deal on the card. I remember walking around, again, I don't remember if this was Thursday or Friday, but I did walk around with B. Roth a bit. And Andy, she blended me with refractors, so awesome to hang out with them a little bit more. And then I got to meet the Insert Revolution podcast guys. We got Dave Archer and Steve the Bronco 79 and Vinny. Also, Bob Lewis was there, and Mark Stoff was there as well. So got to meet up with those guys. Took some pictures, signed some stuff for fun, and just a great group of authentic guys that I was delighted to meet all for the first time, except for Bob Lewis. I'd met him before, and Stoff, I'd met him before too. Both great guys. But those other three, hadn't met him before, and it's always exciting for me to talk to people and just kind of get their perspective on the first national, especially like a national like that's in Chicago that's so busy that just knocks your socks off. Because I can only imagine. My first was in 2019, which I thoroughly enjoyed and will always remember. The 2023 national is just like 2019 on steroids. So I just can't imagine that being my first national. But hey, it's so fun for these people to be able to put names to faces and meet people in person. Really was awesome to meet them. I did get to sneak out for lunch on Friday to Gibson's with my buddy Kurt from Baseball Card Emporium, and just a great guy. Kurt was generous enough to show me around the 2019 National when that was my first National. So it's just fun to be able to go to dinner with him, however many years later, and just kind of reminisce a bit, talk about the hobby, talk a little bit about like weightlifting and diet and stuff like that that he's really into as well. So just a great break in the action that I needed. I just was like exhausted on Friday already. I just wanted to go and eat some food. And so we did that, came back. It was my first time at Gibson's, really enjoyed it. Really nice little place in there. We were fortunate to actually get a seat, but we did, and the food was great. And then I think it was on Friday that I went and hung out with Andy and his friend Michael, Double X the Beast, up to their like little suite they were staying in at the Hyatt. So got to meet Canadian Cards, Mike up there, who I had met before, but always a great guy. Always enjoyed talking to him. Another brother from the north. So super excited to see him. And also met Garrett, card cutter, for the first time, who's just hanging up out there. So, of course, Garrett seems like super decent guy, and would love to have talked to him a little more if I could. But again, there's only so much time. And I think it was Garrett's first national since like 2015 or 16, so it's been a while for him. So I'm kind of curious as to what he thought of the way the national was, and was it overwhelming or not. But just amazing to talk and meet with them. I think JT was up there as well, and Mike, Baseball Collector, who I got to chat with a little bit, up there as well. Always a good time. After that, I think I went back to the room. I think I was kind of done at the show until I went to dinner at Hugo's, which is a steakhouse connected to the casino. When I went with Bob Swick and Eric Stang and Dr. Frank Emanov, the guys I know from the Vintage Football Group, basically, and had a delicious steak, a bone-in ribeye that was probably the priciest dinner that I've had in a long time, but it was delightful. Totally worth it. Really enjoyed it, hanging out with those guys. They're such good people. And it just goes to show you that, collecting knows no age. I think I was the youngest guy there by far, but these guys are like super savvy collectors. They've been in the hobby for like some 40, 50 years, even 60 years in some cases. So to get to hang out and just shoot the wind with those guys is absolutely amazing. And the hobby knows no age. You can hang out with any number of people. If you collect, you have a common interest, and just delighted to have dinner with those guys. So that was awesome. And then after that, I hoofed it back to the Lowe's Hotel for the Friday night Filmington and Mike O get together. So thank you for putting that on, Phil and Mike. Had a great time there, hanging out with Andy, Josh, Rated Rookie, Foo 3112. Chatted with him a lot again. That's kind of a commonplace at this national. Ran into Mark a ton, so that was awesome. And talked with Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards, a little bit, and Dave and his son Caden were also there, as well as so many more. Just almost too many to name. Andrew, Nuff Said Cards, was there as well. Actually ended up getting a Uber with him back to our hotel at like odd hours of the morning, because it was like pouring rain and there were flood warnings, and even just to walk that little ways back to our hotel would have been just crazy. So thanks, Andrew, for splitting an Uber with me back to the hotel. That was awesome. Let's see. Saturday finally came around. By this time, those 3 days of the National were an absolute whirlwind. So Saturday was a little more of a low-key day. Did have one pickup. It was a card I looked at a couple days before. And I know Josh, Rated Rookie, had messaged me this card as well. That he had seen it. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that. I'm aware of it. And I was going to come back and look at it. And ended up making a deal with seller. This is a Reggie White from 98 Fleer Brilliance. This is the gold version. These cards just pop so well. Look at that. Look at that beautiful card right there. And again, these are numbered out of, let me just double check. Yep, 99. There's the back. The gentleman had a 10 as well. It's the only 10 ever graded, and I was super happy to make a deal for the 9 to add to the Reggie White collection. And then after I picked that up, also ran into the Insert Revolution podcast guys and picked up this Reggie White. I believe this is 94. Let me just double check. Yeah, 94 Topps Finest Refractor of Reggie White. This is a raw version here. Looks really good, though. Might end up submitting that at some point. So made a deal with that for Mr. Dave Archer. Beautiful card there. And ironically, that ended up being my last pickup of the show. But yeah, Friday was cool. Got to rock around a lot with Brad on Friday. Brad 8671. Brad, just a class act, just a fun guy to hang out and talk with. I could talk with him all day long about absolutely anything. So got to walk around with Brad a lot on Saturday. Let's see here. What else did I do? Ran into a couple other people. I think SciGuy29 was there. That's a YouTuber I've kind of followed for a couple years now. He's still relatively new, but he's getting to a point where he's been around for a little bit. Met him in passing, along with Scott from Reindeer Studios and Ken's Cardboard, who I also talked to a little more this time around. I know he's been at previous nationals that I've been at, but it's funny how it works. Like sometimes you'll just talk to some people more at one and get to know them a little better. So it kind of felt like that was the case with Ken's Cardboard. Ken from Ken's Cardboard this time. And I also saw, I think it was Eric, A's 915, and JMBP, who I apologize, but I did not get to talk to them, even though I wanted to. It just was like they were there and then they were gone. I talked with Nate, who they were with, and I recognized them. I want to chat, but it's kind of like, again, it's the whirlwind. It doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you. It's the whirlwind of the week. So hopefully next time I can catch up with those guys and talk with them a little more. And that was about it for Saturday. Saturday ended up kind of low key. Went to a barbecue place with Brad and Joey, Burkcat 8, my roommate, right behind our hotel, and we just had a nice meal. I think I had a lobster roll on Saturday evening, and we just turned in kind of early. I think everybody was a little exhausted, and just kind of watched TV, talked about cards, life, whatever, got to bed early. And then we knew Sunday was going to be our last day, and I went back. I still had some cash. I was going to I looked at a 54 Johnston Cookies Hank Aaron that I was possibly interested in from a friend of mine, David Kish, and decided not to pull the trigger on it, but it's a card I do have on my radar and I'm kind of looking for in the near future. So I did that. Ended up not picking anything, so I did come home with some cash, which is always good too. And ran into Steve Lohr as well. He's from the Lambeau Leap Collectibles group. Chatted with him a little bit. I don't think I really saw any YouTubers on Sunday at all. I did run into Greg Bates. He's from Sports Collectors Digest, and got to talk with him a little bit about the show and breaking records and everything. He had done an interview with me in an article he wrote back 2 years ago, so it was cool meeting him in person and chatting with him a little bit. And I think I also met John Newman from Sports Card Nation. This would have been on Saturday. I think I met John. And he had Bart and I on his show, Sports Card Nation podcast, a couple months ago. So it was nice meeting John Newman in person and chatting with him. Super great guy, just super chill, and everything I thought he would be. So that was awesome. You know what? Then 1 o'clock came around, and we headed back to the room, and I checked out. And what's cool is when I booked this hotel, I booked it in December, and the only way that I could book it was for myself to book 5 days instead of 4. So it had me staying through Monday night, but we were checking out early. And they were nice enough actually to credit me another day, even though I had to refund me a day, even though I had booked 1 extra day. So that was super nice of them. Also gave me a random discounted parking rate, which I did not expect. So that lessened the burden of finances a little bit for the trip. So that was cool. Just a win-win-win scenario. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought they were going to make me stay like I booked through Monday. In closing, the National is a lot of fun. Truly recommend going if you have not already. Just kind of make it a point to go at least once, but give yourself a couple days when you go, because it's an absolute whirlwind. But it's a lot of fun, and you get to meet so many great people and acquaintances and get to know people a little bit better. And it's a good break in your life, basically. A good break in your week, your life. It gets you out of whatever funk you're in or whatever you've got going on, and kind of lets you reset to put you in a completely different world for a little bit. So that's what I love about the National. It's my 3rd National now. Thanks to Joey. Was a great roommate all week, and great conversations, going out to dinner and just hanging out. So really appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate anyone who took the time to walk around with me, specifically Andy. She blinded me with her fractures. I know we walked around for a little bit and walked back up to the suite to hang out for a little bit. Brian B. Roth, I know he's kind of always working, Card Soup as well as his business as well. So I appreciate Brian just hanging out for a little bit, even though he was kind of on the working, the hound. He was hounding around for cards, which I can certainly appreciate. And then, got to spend a little extra time with Ed Wesker Griff, walking around a little bit, just chatting about whatever, looking at cards. That was cool. Walked around with Joey, my roommate. Birdcat ate a lot. Brad 8671, spent a lot of time with him walking around as well. And, us football guys, we kind of all understand each other and what we're looking for. So love that, hanging out with Brad. And, of course, Mark Fu 3112, who I walked around with for a while. I think it was on Thursday or Friday, but I think it was Friday. Just had an awesome time with all of you. And I did walk around, I think, a little bit with Phil Filmington and Josh, rated rookie, a bit too. So super happy about that. I think that's it. I think that's all I got to talk about. So yeah, sorry if I didn't mention you. Obviously, it's a lot of people. It's a whirlwind. Y'all understand. But really enjoyed it. I just really wanted to shout out the people who spent any amount of significant time with over the last 5 days. It truly means a lot, and the connections you make are for life, really, down there, and that's what's really cool. The cards I picked up, they're okay, they're cool, but really it's the memories and the meeting people that's amazing, that's awesome. So with that being said, it was a 2023 successful National this year, and was happy I did it. So thanks everybody for watching, and thanks so much for subscribing to my channel. And I hope you got a chance to go to the National. If not, I hope you could live vicariously through me a little bit, at least with this recap. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.